we had that then we might be doing something very different. But I think at that point we did, we bought over, I sourced and developed over 50-60 million pounds worth of property in London in a year and a half. And even in Sweden ourselves, in Stockholm and things. Unfortunately, politics changed. We had Brexit, we had lots of different things, so our investment kind of grew to a halt. But the thought process was, how do we find property? That's where I went to next, going, well, this startup didn't work. It wasn't because of anything else, it's just because I couldn't find them and I couldn't sell them. And that was where the whole thought process of having a marketplace to help landlords and investors find just that. You go on Rightmove and Zoopla, and unless you're looking in a postcode that in and out, you're not going to find anything. It doesn't show you that type of analysis. You have to sift through 300 houses in one postcode just to find a buy-to-let or a HMO, and that just wasn't working. It was inefficient.
Yep.
So I actually thought about having this marketplace and with a couple of people, but unfortunately I wasn't first to it, and actually that was Vesta. And so I basically came in. Russell, the old CEO, he basically just stepped in when they received 5 million, and I wasn't going to raise that myself. So I said to him, look, love to jump in and see if we can grow it. So that was back in 2018, and we grew that from literally zero to having 500 million on the site at one point, just of off-market residential stock within the UK and helping landlords, which was a real testament. Obviously we were doing that as a holistic, as I mentioned to you before, as kind of no fees really and really low fees. It was just more about how to create it and hoping that a big giant would want to buy us out and sort that out. We did go for another round of investment, but it just didn't work out. But lucky for us, because actually having built that all, the actual elements of it ourselves, we ended up buying that out of receivership, and so we own the IP and everything else of Vesta. So it hasn't all the knowledge that we built is come with us into now my property listing, and that's where we met actually, wasn't it? So it was pulling these two tech giants in a way in the behind the scenes that people don't get together. Yeah, and piecing those two cogs together, having the buy side and the seller side.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing is, and ultimately, obviously, we discuss this a lot, but essentially how we built it is we've created both ends of the spectrum. Ultimately, and we sit there with, as you like to say, a Chinese wall between us, which I always love the phrase. But so you deal with the seller, and you are working on his best interest on his behalf, and I deal with the buyer, and I'm working on their best interest on their behalf. And between the two of us, obviously, we have had many a tussle in terms of trying to get prices right to make sure that everybody leaves the partnership or the deal feeling like they've got what they want and deserve.
But this is the whole point, isn't it? Is that an investor or buyer now is a seller later. So you have to look after both sides, and I think that's where some people do get a little bit wrong with things, is that they try and just win every time, and a win sometimes can be the same thing for both parties, and that is a deal.
Yep.
And I think it's more about having that negotiation, feeling out with what each person wants,